Greetings. You know, not everyone will let you know when they've done something that was pretty stupid. And I'm going to do that. I have my excuse for it, but it was still pretty stupid. This weekend, I learned a very interesting lesson on social media, and I'm going to give you the basics, not the specifics, but I'm going to give you the basics because I like to consider myself somewhat knowledgeable about how social media is supposed to work, and I made a major faux pas. And it was unintentional, but it's still a major faux pas. Just like our buddy J.K. Rowling did the day after me, I made a faux pas. Not the same one she made, but I made a faux pas. So here's the deal. There was a news story that someone had shared online, and I went to click it. And in essence, it was basically an article written overseas, either in England or Ireland. I don't know. But it was written about an ESPN news anchor. And it said that she had caused this major uproar over a tweet that she did. So I'm reading this thing and I'm saying, wait, where's the major uproar? What did I miss? So I shared it on Twitter, and what I did is I put her name in, and I said, you go get them. Very positive, supporting her, thinking she's absolutely right. Then some other people, because she's a big name, I'm not, but she's a big name, decided to kind of come in on it. And one guy said something, and I didn't like it. I didn't like how he said it. And I wasn't sure that he was telling the truth. Now, one of the things I have said, I say this all the time. When you hear something or you read something online, go investigate it first before you just say something out of school. So even though I wasn't necessarily inclined to go look up what this guy had said, I did. So I go online and I put in my search term on Google and I find the first article and I read the first article. And there's the information. And I see this information and I'm saying, there, this is a historical site, historical information. This is the proof. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So I share the link. And he comes back to me and says, well, basically your link says what I say, so there you go. And so I'm thinking, no, wait, what did I miss? What happened is I read the article and it wasn't written in a style that I'm normally used to. Usually when you look at historical stuff, they start from a certain date and then they update things as time goes on. In this particular article, I stopped when I saw the information that I was looking for. Well, it turns out about 2 or 3 paragraphs down, it gives the other information. And the other information confirmed what this guy said. Now, the thing is, the guy had kind of called me a name, and I really wasn't happy with him to begin with, so I just kind of let it go. Or so I thought, because throughout the rest of the day, people were either kind of coming after me for not knowing this particular bit of history, or for basically telling another guy he didn't know what he was talking about. And that was just like, oh my God. Now, here's the thing. This was actually a field of study of mine in college. But I graduated in 1981, and there's a lot of stuff we didn't know. I knew more than a lot of people my age who were studying these things. I used to read all these books on black history when I was like 11, 12 years old. They used to call me the radical, believe it or not. But then again, you know, I was a military base, so it was pretty easy to be the radical. And so I hadn't kept up with it. I knew my history based on stuff that I'd read. I know things that are going on now, but I didn't know some stuff that went even further back because it wasn't covered in my day. We have the internet now, and like I said, I did my thing. I looked it up. I just didn't read the entire article. I stopped with exactly what I wanted, and there you go. And, there's major lessons to learn here. The first lesson is read the entire article. That's what I really needed to do. I didn't do it. That was my fault. I guess I saw what I wanted. I'm done. And you would think I would know better because I read articles all the time. Heck, I write a ton of articles. And if you read like just a portion of my article and you respond to that, you probably a lot of times going to miss all the other stuff I've said. I may have already answered or addressed something that I mentioned earlier, but if you didn't go any further, you totally missed it. That's number one. Number two, this part isn't on me. You do not go insulting people you don't know right from the start. Basically, I blocked this guy because I'm thinking, you know what, I'm not on social media just for, you know, to be insulted or whatever. We can have a conversation, and if the conversation had stuck that way, then I would have eventually gone back, read the article, say, oh, geez, you know what, you're right, I missed that. Now, what turns out is I was talking to someone else the next day because it has carried on. This happened Saturday, and even today there's been a few people who have been retweeting either what I said or what someone else said. And you know, the next day, which was the Sunday, this guy wrote me, and it turns out he's read some of my articles over the years, which I didn't realize. And he asked me a question, to which I said, okay, you know what, we went through all of that yesterday. Acknowledge, we're good. And then we had a conversation. And I said, you know what, we didn't have that back then. We didn't have the internet. There's only so much information that you can have. I went to a school that had, what, maybe college, basically. I went to a college that might have had 2 or 3 black teachers. My high school had none. So, you know, I went to 2 different high schools. Neither high school had a black teacher. So everything I got was from books that I could order and have delivered to me. Yeah, that's a thing that we used to do. Back in the day. I lived in northern Maine, and then when I moved here to Liverpool, New York, they didn't have any of those books. So I had to order books to come to me that I wanted to read. So, you know, it shows that history does change. History is still history, but you find out a heck of a lot more. One of the things that I tell people that, you know, people put up these quotes from Gandhi and they put up these things from Churchill. Well, it turns out that Churchill was a major racist. If you saw any of the stuff that this guy wrote and said and did in India before World War II, you would never think that this guy was any kind of hero. And Gandhi was basically a misogynist. He didn't think that women were equal to men. He basically let his wife die. And then when he got the same disease, he clamored for the thing. Yes, he did, you know, some pretty good things. But he let his wife die, wouldn't let her take this thing that would have let her live until it was on him. You know, to me, that kind of takes away your hero status because you did some bad stuff. But there's people who are going to still support those people. A guy that I support, Nelson Mandela, obviously he's passed away now. Well, you know, when you look at it in the context of people who were alive back then, when before he went to prison, he's seen as a terrorist because basically he bombed stuff. Now, we sit there and we say, well, no, you know what, he did that because his people were oppressed. True. Apartheid was a terrible thing. Like I said, I'm a supporter. But there were people who saw him as a terrorist. And years later, when he got out of prison and then was president, they still saw him as a terrorist. You can't basically take away what they saw because that was fearful. There's probably people still in England now who see the IRA people. I don't think there's an IRA anymore, but there are still some, you know, radicals or whatever. But when they were bombing England all over the place, they were terrorists. No wonder people didn't want to talk to some of the other folks who decided to try to have a political wing at the time. I'm just saying that it's one of these kind of things where you almost have to be willing to say, okay, show me this extra thing. Let me see this. Let me read it. Me read it. Me consume it. And then come up with an opinion. You know, so often on social media, we just react to something really quick without really delving into it. And that's what I did. Don't be me. So that's what I have for you this week. Let me know your thoughts on this. I'm sure that I'm not the only one who has basically gotten myself into a little bit of trouble with some people on social media because I said something really quickly. And you know what? Tell me your story. How did you deal with it? Anyway, my name is Mitch Mitchell. I hope you have a wonderful week.